Let's talk about Amsterdam, a city that has played the backdrop for Americans' European trips.
God damn it. Whoa, how did I get here? Man, I'm so high!
And mediocre movies, but there's one thing that makes it stand out more than anything else. No, not that, but its canals. And today, we'll tell you the story of how this area of swampland grew to become the mecca for mid-tier lager. Our story goes back to the 12th century, when the area was nothing more than a settlement for fishermen who resided along the banks of the River Amstel. As you are probably aware, the area isn't renowned for being high above sea level, so a dam was built along the River Amstel to reduce the risk of flooding, with the area taking the name of Amsterdam. The dam was located in today's aptly named Dam Square, which grew in size from the original dam, with the water on either side being filled in during the 19th century, eventually becoming the home of Madame Tussauds and a less dysfunctional royal family.
My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized.
With the city protected by the dam, it started to grow, but as you would expect, the ground was pretty marshy, so new houses would be built using wooden piles as foundations, similar to Venice. Growth of the city was restricted to being inside the semicircular canal, the Single, which ran along the periphery of the city and provided both drainage and defence uses. The city would continue to grow, but it was in the 17th century when Amsterdam would really start to kick off. Known as the Dutch Golden Age, this was a time where there was a lot of money sloshing about in Holland, and as a result, ambitious plans were proposed to transform Amsterdam, as its population continued to grow, but there was pretty much no space to build inside the Single. Plans were unveiled to make the city 5 times larger by building a ring of 4 canals which curved around the existing city. A series of interconnecting canals along the radii of the canal ring would be built, which would primarily serve the role of transporting goods through a fleet of small barges to the doorstep of merchants who would build houses along the sides of the canals.
Get me 100 fags, 2 bottles of wine, a bottle of whiskey and 10 cans of lager now.
This would also create a new area called the Jardin, which name comes from jardin in French, as the new canals and paths would follow the plot boundaries of the existing gardens on the land at the time, breaking the rectilinear pattern of the initial plans. Construction on the canals started in a sweeping direction, starting first to the northwest of the centre in 1613. Once this was finished in 1625, the southern section was built in 1662 and was completed around 10 years later. There were plans to extend the canal ring in the east of the city, but these did not come to fruition for a long time after the first 2 sections were constructed due to the disaster year of 1672. By the time it was implemented, there was no demand for parcels of land, so it was rented out to people who fancied growing vegetables, with the area being known as plantation or plantage as it's still called today, and was developed without much plan, hence the layout differs significantly compared to the other sections, with it not becoming an area of housing until the mid-19th century. By the end of the construction bonanza, there were 3 canals which were most well known, called the Heringgracht, the Keizersgracht and the Prinsengracht, which circled the old city, creating one of the most picturesque urban landscapes on earth. Over the next few centuries, the fortunes of Amsterdam would fluctuate, however the canals would remain and be an important fixture for the identity and culture of the city, right up to the present day. However, as you can expect, despite the ingenuity of the 17th century design, the canals cannot last forever without maintenance, and fast forward to the 21st century, and this issue is coming to light. Recent studies showed there were 10 kilometres of canals on the verge of collapse, and hundreds of bridges that are in need of repair. As you can probably guess, with the infrastructure being constructed centuries ago, the foundations were only expected to carry the weight of horses and not buses or cement trucks. The solution will require multi-billion-dollar work of repairs, which is expected to take decades to finish. So next time you go to Amsterdam, you might see less of this and more of these.
This don't look like the pictures.